time did you actually wake up this morning? Not what time your alarm went off, what time your feet hit the floor. There's a gap between those two moments. And that gap is where most people's whole life gets decided. 5 minutes at a time, 30 or 40 years, until one day they look up and wonder why nothing changed. I know a man named Dale who ran a tire shop off Route 9 for 26 years. Every morning at 5:40, before the sun, before the coffee maker even finished its cycle, he did the same 10 things in the same order, not because he loved doing them. He told me once, standing in that shop smelling like rubber and grease and the burnt coffee nobody ever cleaned out of the pot, I don't feel like doing most of what I do. I just decided a long time ago that feelings don't get a vote. That sentence sat in me for years. Feelings don't get a vote. Say that back to yourself slowly and notice how much it terrifies you. Because if that's true, every excuse you've used since Monday just lost its power. Here's the test almost nobody passes. It's not complicated and it's not dramatic. It happens in the first 90 seconds after you're conscious. The alarm rings, the room is cold, the blanket is warm, and something inside you negotiates. It says 5 more minutes. It says you earned this. It says today's different, you'll make it up tomorrow. And most people, good people, hardworking people, 90-second negotiation before their eyes are even fully open. They don't lose because they're weak. They lose because nobody ever told them discipline isn't a personality trait. It's a decision you remake in the dark, alone, with no one watching and no one keeping score but you. Dale's shop wasn't glamorous. Cinder block walls, a radio that only picked up 2 stations, a space heater that rattled if you turned it past 3, dog named Biscuit who slept by the register and only got up for customers who smelled like bacon. But Dale outlasted 4 competitors who opened flashier shops with better signage, better parking, lower prices for the first 6 months to pull customers away. I asked him how he did it, expecting some secret. He shrugged like the question bored him. They were disciplined when it was easy, he said. I was disciplined when it wasn't. It's the whole difference between people who talk about change and people who become it. Anyone can hold a standard when the weather's good and the customers are happy and the bank account has some breathing room in it. The real test shows up on the gray Tuesday in February when the shop's empty, the heater's broken, and nobody would notice if you locked the door early and went home. I asked him once if he ever thought about quitting in year 3 or 4 when the shop was barely breaking even and his wife was picking up shifts at the grocery store to cover the gap. He said he thought about it every single week for a while. But quitting, to him, wasn't a decision. It was a mood that showed up around Wednesday and left by Friday if he just kept opening the shop on schedule. He learned to stop treating the mood like information. It was just weather passing through, and you don't reorganize your whole life around a Tuesday afternoon storm. Think about your own gray Tuesdays. The workout you skipped because you were tired. And tired felt like a good enough reason at 11 at night when you were setting the alarm. The book you didn't open because the show was right there, already loaded, already easier, already promising 45 minutes of not having to think about anything. None of those moments felt like betrayal when they happened. It's what makes them dangerous. A single missed morning doesn't ruin you. It's the second one that's the real threat. Because now you've built a precedent. Precedent is quieter and more powerful than any single decision you'll ever make on purpose. Your brain doesn't remember the day you skipped. It remembers the version of you who's allowed to skip. It will keep referring back to that version every single time things get uncomfortable, like a lawyer pulling up a favorable ruling from an old case. I met a woman a few years back, a nurse named Priyanka, who worked 12-hour night shifts at a hospital 2 towns over from where she lived. She told me the hardest part of her day wasn't the patients or the paperwork or the doctor, who never remembered her name after 3 years. It was the drive home at 7 in the morning, exhausted, past a diner with a buzzing neon sign that stayed lit even in daylight, knowing she could just stop, get breakfast, go home and sleep, skip her 1 hour of study for the certification exam she was chasing on top of a full-time job. She said she made a deal with herself. Not a big dramatic vow, nothing she wrote on a vision board. Just one line, repeated at 7 in the morning, with her hands still shaking a little from the shift. I get to be tired. I don't get to quit. She drove past that diner for 11 months. 11 months of exhaustion arguing with a promise. She passed the exam on her first attempt. When I asked what changed in her during those 11 months, she said nothing changed, and that surprised me until she explained what she meant. She didn't wait to feel different before she acted different. She just kept being the person who drives past the diner morning after morning, and eventually the identity caught up to the behavior instead of the other way around. That's the part people get backwards, almost universally. They think they need to become disciplined first, and then the actions us will follow under less. Like discipline is some personality upgrade you either have or you don't. Something that arrives one morning like a delivery. It's the opposite, every time, no exceptions. You act disciplined on a random Tuesday when you don't feel like it, and that action, small and unwitnessed, is what builds the identity. Nobody is born a person who keeps promises to themselves. That person gets built one uncomfortable morning at a time, in complete privacy, with zero applause, usually while everyone else is still asleep. There's a man I think about sometimes, a former student of mine, who spent 3 years afraid to start a business he'd been sketching out on napkins since college. Every version of the plan was ready except him. He told me once he wasn't scared of failing, scared of trying completely, and finding out he still wasn't good enough, because at least right now he got to believe he might be. That's a different kind of fear than the ones people usually talk about. Quieter, more respectable, easier to disguise as patience. He finally quit his job on a Thursday, for no particular reason except that he realized the napkin plan had an expiration date whether he admitted it or not. The business struggled for a year and a half, didn't feel brave from the inside. He described it as humiliating, actually, filling out unemployment paperwork some months, borrowing from his sister once, twice. But he kept showing up to a desk in his spare room at 6 in the morning, whether the business had earned it that week or not. Courage up close almost never looks like the movie version. It looks like a man doing the same unglamorous task on a Wednesday he did on a Monday, with no evidence yet that it's working, wearing the same gray sweatshirt because laundry felt like one decision too many that week. 18 months in, nothing dramatic happened. There was no single morning where the business suddenly turned. It just slowly stopped feeling impossible. The way a hallway gets shorter the more times you walk down it in the dark. And this is where most people quit. Right here, in the space where the results haven't shown up yet, but the effort already has. Comfort makes a very convincing argument in that gap. It says, look, nothing's different yet. So maybe this isn't working, maybe you're wasting your time, maybe you should rest for a while and start fresh next month when things settle down. Voice sounds reasonable. It sounds like wisdom, calm and measured. It is not wisdom. It is fear wearing a calm voice, trying to talk you out of the exact moment where growth actually happens, which is always, without exception, the moment right before it becomes visible to anyone but you. Somewhere right now, there's a version of you that gave up on the thing you actually wanted. Not because it was impossible, because it got boring before it got rewarding. Boring is harder to survive than hard ever is. Anybody can push through pain for a week if the stakes are dramatic enough. Almost nobody can push through monotony for a year, quietly, with nothing to show anyone. But monotony is the price. It's not a detour on the way to the life you want. It is the road itself, paved with 5 a.m. mornings, nobody filmed and decisions nobody clapped for and small refusals. Nobody will ever know you made. Go back to that gap. The alarm and the floor. Seconds, sometimes less. In that gap, you're not deciding what kind of day you'll have. You're deciding quietly, without ceremony, what kind of person you're becoming, one repetition at a time. Dale knew it, standing in that cinder block shop with a dog at his feet. Priyanka knew it, driving past a diner that never once stopped tempting her. The man with the napkin plan knew it, sitting at a desk in a spare room with no proof yet that any of it would work. Every person who's ever built something that lasted knew it, even if they never said it out loud, even if they couldn't have explained it to you in a sentence over coffee. The floor is cold. Your feet touch it anyway. That's the whole test. You take it every single morning, whether you study for it or not, whether you're ready or not, whether anyone's watching or not. So here's what I want you to do tomorrow, before your brain has time to negotiate with you like it's done 1,000 times before. Don't wait for motivation, because motivation is a mood. and moods are unreliable narrators of what actually matters. Set the terms the night before. The calmer version of you is still in charge. Decide in writing, if you have to, exactly what the first hour looks like, down to the small stuff, so that when the alarm rings and the argument starts in your head, you're not deciding anymore. You already decided days ago, weeks ago. You're just following through on a promise, a clearer version of you already made on your behalf. That's the whole trick, if you can call it a trick. Discipline isn't about having more willpower than everyone else walking around out there. It's about needing less of it, because you already removed the decision from the moment of maximum weakness, back when you had the clarity to do it right. Cold floor tomorrow morning. Let it be uncomfortable. Don't wait for it to feel good, because it won't, not for a while, maybe not for a long while, maybe not for months. Stand up anyway. Do the thing you said you'd do, especially on the day nobody's watching, especially when there's no reward waiting on the other side, except the quiet, private knowledge that you kept your word to yourself one more time. Do that enough mornings in a row, and something starts to shift that no external circumstance can touch. No bad week, no slow month, no discouraging comment from someone who gave up on their own version of this years ago and would rather you gave up too, so the two of you can be tired together instead of one of you standing up alone. You stop being someone who hopes to change and you become someone who already did. One cold floor, one gray Tuesday, one unglamorous decision at a time. That's the test. People fail it before their coffee's even ready. Don't be most people. Get up.